John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised. Another mass shooting. Mueller indicts some Russians. Black Panther hysteria, and so much more. That's what's headed your way on this hour of the John Lebang Show. Greetings and salutations. I'm your host, John Lebang, welcoming you to another week of Sonic Vibrations. We have a great deal of things to talk about this hour, and we're going to begin with the shooting. Another shooting at a high school in the United States. And although the mainstream manufactured news is continually giving you their banal version of the story, they're not offering you too many answers. Of course, it was a thing, you know. It was, we had another shooting. And now it's some white supremacist kid, because they like to highlight some kind of white supremacy. If there's any other kind of supremacy, we don't usually get that version of the story, and they try to spin it some other way. I remember when the Fort Hood shooting happened, no mention, or very little mention in the mainstream media, that the man was a radical Islamist. They didn't want to touch that because that is, that's not politically correct. But to call somebody a white supremacist, that's politically correct. But again, they're jumping on this because there's an agenda, and the agenda is to get rid of guns. And it's bad. The guns are bad. The guns are bad. I commented on a few posts out there in social media, watching the knee-jerk reactions to this situation. When nobody wants to deal with the real problems behind this. They think taking away guns are the answer. Or you get the ones that are the pro-gun people who think completely hardening a school facility is the correct course of action. And you're only dealing with the reaction to the overall problem. See, it's the Hegelian method at work again. A problem was developed or created. They need a solution for it. But to get a solution, there's the reaction. And the reaction, again, is entirely based on the wrong. It's not based on the true problem. We have a mental health issue in this country that no one wants to deal with. They, and I'm speaking the politically correct, want to victimize these people who have mental health issues. They want to keep that out of the lexicon. They don't want to talk about that. It's the growing mental health issue we have in this country. And that's because a great deal of the people in the mainstream media support some of the greatest mental health issues out there. They instead of dealing with things that come up as a mental health issues, they support it by saying, oh, it's their freedom to do this and their freedom to do that. But in the case of this shooter, which I'm not going to give you the guy's name because I don't want these guys to think that they're going to become some martyr, their last-ditch effort in this world is going to give them some publicity, make them famous. And many, many broadcasts before this one, I had mentioned that if the media continues to highlight these shootings, continues to give us these gross details the way they do, to focus on these things the way they do, not just to give you basic information, but to take it to the point where there's agenda behind it. The more media that we give to these sort of things, the more we're going to have copycats. And it might have been 3 or 4 years ago, maybe a little less, where I talked about these things are going to create copycats. Because you give the shooter, you give the murderer, the scumbag, if it's as simple as that, ladies and gentlemen, if there is no bigger conspiracy, and we might get into that a little bit, but you're giving the shooter fame by saying his name over and over and then putting his picture on the front page of your news sites, on the front page of your magazine. So that's a big issue. But we're going to have to find a solution because this has happened 18 times. 18 times in the year 2018. And we're only in the middle of February. So at this rate, we're going to have more shootings than John Lebang's going to have new stations. And that's not a good thing. I would imagine anyone listening to the show would prefer that John Lebang get on more stations than there are high school shootings and school shootings. So I came up because I try to deal in solutions, the truth. I came up with a way, I hope, if this catches on, which I don't know if it's going to catch on, because it's going to deal with certain things that people don't want to go, because certain people aren't going to get money out of this. See, all this is money too, right? The gun lobby wants as many people buying guns as possible. The anti-gun lobby wants as many people against the gun lobby as possible. The security agencies would love to harden the schools. Oh, that's more money for them, since the taxpayer is going to pay for it. So here's my, I think, pretty logical steps to decreasing the number of high school shootings. I don't know if we're going to be able to stop it for a long time. But I got some, what I think are some pretty good suggestions on making this situation better. It may not cure it all, but at least it's more thought out than some of the people that are thinking, just get rid of all the guns or something else, right? These people are having knee-jerk reactions. So number one, and this to me is a no-brainer. No 18 and under and still in high school, they can't be on social media. We need to make that a rule. Make that a law. No one under the age of 18 and in high school. So if you're in high school and you're 19, sorry, dude, you can't get on social media. No cell phones under the age of 18. This way, the young people can't be corrupted by the BS that's on the internet. They can't watch these videos of mass shootings over and over and over. They don't need to see these things to get the one or two crazies out of the group to go, hey, I'm not popular, but this will make me popular. See, I think there's a little bit of that in some of these. And of course, that would also, those first two, would also decrease the number of online bullying that we're so concerned about. Just make it, if you're 18 and under, you can't have social media. And if you're still in high school, no matter what age you are, or elementary and all that, you can't have social media. You can't have a phone, a cell phone, till you're 18. Because those cell phones allow you to get on the internet and play around on social media and other things that might corrupt a young person's thought pattern, thought process. Now, number 3, to purchase a weapon between the ages of 18 and 25, that person must have a sponsor. So kids like this idiot, this murderer, can't just go down to the local gun store by himself and go, I want to buy me an AR-15. No, he's got to have a sponsor until he's 25. That sponsor must have 5 years of experience with the weapon. So he can't just have his buddy who just got a gun sponsor him. Anyone 25 and younger, doesn't matter how old you are, but 25 and younger, must go through 6 weeks of gun training. This is any age. So you can send your kid to gun training at 14. I don't care. That'll also entail a little bit of mental health evaluation. Make sure they're okay in the head, that we're not getting some, and I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, you people who do have autistic kids, but that'll keep weapons out of the hands of people who might necessarily or not necessarily look okay on the outside and they go and buy a gun, but really they have little mental health issues. You can avoid all this if you just go into the military for 5 years. That'll exempt you from the prior, because you will be trained by the U.S. military in weapons and such. They can evaluate your mental condition there. Then, I like this one a lot, and I think it's, this is a subsection of part 3, by the way, the last subsection. It'll be $1,000 to obtain a gun permit if you're under the age of 25. So not only do you have to have an extra $1,000 on top of what you want to buy for the gun, but you have to have a sponsor who has 5 years or more experience with weapons. You have to go through 6 weeks of training. And during that training, they're going to assess your mental health. You can avoid all this by just going into the military for 5 years. Now, number 4, and this is another one that I think is important. Anyone who takes prescription drugs that can affect your mental faculties cannot own a weapon. You can't buy it. Doesn't matter how many sponsors you get. You can't own a weapon. Doesn't matter if you were in the military. You can't own a weapon. If you're on some form of prescription drugs that affects your mental well-being, maybe you're having emotional problems and you got to take some drug to keep your mental health from growing crazy, well, you can't have a gun. Simple as that. Number 5, all teachers, anybody that is employed by the school system must go through weapons training. Number 6, end gun-free zones, because these are the areas that these killers go to because they ain't going to follow the law. They brought a gun into the gun-free zone. Do you think they care? You're going to give them a ticket on top of that? Oh, by the way, you've killed all these people. You went on your rampage. We're also going to hit you with a violation of a gun-free zone. That's ridiculous and stupid. Number 7, stop teaching things like sex ed and things like that, and take those classes and replace them with self-defense education. So maybe instead of teaching these kids to cower and become sitting ducks for these mass shooters, one or two of them might take the initiative and try to take this guy out. You might lose that person. I know it's terrible. It's terrible. Anybody has to die in this. But if people know how to defend themselves, hand-to-hand combat, they might be able to disarm this guy before it gets out of hand, like while he's reloading or something. Because that's the time to take these guys out. When he's popping a clip out, putting a new one in, if somebody's paying attention and not cowering, making themselves as an easy target, they might be able to defend themselves and remove that weapon from the guy and beat the heck out of him. We're going a little long, but I only have a few more here, ladies and gentlemen. Encourage, as number 8, encourage armed or unarmed, I don't care, parent patrols around the schools. So the moms and the dads that aren't working that day, they should help out a little bit if they really care about their kids and patrol the school for an hour. Just the grounds. Just go around and check it out. It's not that big. I know we're all busy. But maybe we should become a little less busy and focus a little more on the safety of all of us instead of worrying about bringing in the money so I can spend the money. And personally, the last one, this is me. I know we're not allowed to do it anymore. This one's going to get a lot of people angry. Let the kids fight. Let the kids have a fist fight. Because this aggression would be a lot better than having some kid have some built-up aggression because he was bullied or maybe he was upset about something. Maybe he didn't have any friends. Whatever the case may be. And he goes out and gets a weapon and murders a bunch of people. Let him have a fist fight. We did that back in the day. We got out our differences really quick and we left it at that. Anyways, folks, I'm really long this segment. When we return, I want to hear your opinions about this. And we're going to also talk about the Mueller investigation and the indictments of a bunch of Russians. As well as we'll probably get into some Black Panther craze at some point in this hour. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Now, don't get your panties all worked up.
But y'all the best, we'll be right back.
And you'll love it. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's what's cool on radio.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for spending this hour with me. It's been like I said, an interesting week in the news. There's been a lot going on. Our prior conversation there about the school shooter, please feel free to let me know what your opinions are about my, 9 suggestions in making the schools safer, trying to decrease the number of shootings that happen at schools. Let me know what you think. Maybe you have some suggestions that I didn't come up with. But when I was thinking about those things, I was like, we've got to do something, and we've got to tackle this on all fronts. Not just get rid of guns. See, none of my suggestions said we have to get rid of guns. You don't need to get rid of guns. But with that, we need to switch gears because we had the Mueller investigation finally give us something. Apparently, Russians conducted information warfare against the U.S. during the elections, and a bunch of people, 13 to be exact, Russian nationals, and 3 Russian entities are being indicted for alleged interference in the 2016 presidential election. The defendants allegedly conducted information warfare against the United States election process. Okay. The defendants used fake American personas, social media platforms, and other internet media to advance their scheme, according to the indictment. Oh, so they came up with a stage name for social media. They posted on social media platform a version of, what they thought was the news or something to help their political aspirations here in America. And according to that, that's indictable. Okay. The indictment says that the Russian organization called the Internet Research Agency sought to wage information warfare against the United States and to sow discord in the American political system by using fictitious American personas and social media platforms and other internet-based media. The indictment said that the Internet Research Agency was registered with the Russian government as a corporation entity in 2013. And by May 2014, the group's strategy included interfering in the U.S. election with the stated goal of spreading distrust towards the candidates, more than one candidates, and the political system in general. The indictment details an extremely sophisticated conspiracy in which defendants traveled to the United States to conduct research, employ specialists to fine-tune social media posts to ensure they appeared authentic, and stole real people's identities to purchase online ads. By mid-2016, the defendants were supporting the presidential campaign of then presidential candidate Donald J. Trump and disparaging Hillary Clinton. Okay, there was a lot of people doing the other thing. What you hear there, folks, is the other camera just died on me. So we're running with one camera. The battery died. But there was disinformation spread the other way. But that doesn't count because I guess that's done. That's okay if Americans spread disinformation. Now, some defendants posing as U.S. persons and without revealing their Russian associated communicated with unwitting individuals associated with the Trump campaign and with other political activists to seek coordinated political activities. Foreigners are barred from spending money to try to influence the outcome of a federal election. Apparently not a state or local election, but a federal election. But let me bring this up, ladies and gentlemen, because this is being glossed over. Hillary Clinton's deep international ties were translating into cash for the election. When she announced her presidential bid, the former First Lady's campaign held at least 34 fundraisers in foreign countries. According to the tally from the nonpartisan Sunlight Foundation, the events are part of the Clintons' political machine's broader fundraising efforts, which was smashing virtually all the records that were previously held. She outdid President Obama as well as Mr. Mitt Romney. Now, her Republican opponent, Donald Trump, held no foreign fundraisers at all. Campaign finance watchdogs say Clinton is politically savvy enough to take advantage of her wealth, to take advantage of her wealthy allies and support overseas in ways other candidates couldn't. The first international Clinton fundraiser came in the summer, not long after Mrs. Clinton formally announced her second White House bid. The London event included a reception with famous singer Tony Bennett and Clinton supporters, which paid up to $2,700 to attend. Now, this is in foreign countries, ladies and gentlemen. So, Clinton is okay to get money in foreign countries, but nobody else is. Because it's illegal for everybody else to have any kind of foreign ties when it's coming to an election, but not the Clintons. You can get money if you're the Clintons. Do you get the picture, ladies and gentlemen? The events seemingly have brought in hundreds of thousands of dollars, and perhaps much more, for the Clinton campaign. Though it is difficult to nail down the exact amount, it appears that most of the contributors who contributed at these foreign fundraisers used U.S. addresses to contribute. So foreigners using U.S.-based addresses can contribute to the Clinton campaign, and it's not a felony, it's not a law-breaking event, but people not associated with Trump, doesn't look like there's any connection at all, do very similar things, but they don't give money. They just go on social media and do their thing on social media, and that's an indictable offense. There's no bias towards Hillary Clinton at all. Let's not forget the 33,000 emails that she deleted that practically anybody else in the government, if they had done that, they would have been charged with something. Now let's get back to the story. As part of their efforts, the defendants who allegedly encouraged minority groups and to either not vote in the election or to vote for a third-party candidate. So these apparent Russian aliases with American aliases were just encouraging people not to vote for Clinton and saying, hey, don't vote at all. Both actions would have hurt Clinton, apparently, who received significant support from minority groups. Of course. That's because, let's say this clearly, ladies and gentlemen, she would pander to all of them. And after the election of President Trump in November 2016, the defendants used fake personas to organize and coordinate political rallies. Now listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. In support of Trump, while also doing the same to create rallies protesting the results. Not to mention George Soros had his own out there protesting. Maybe they were in coordination with each other. I'm not sure. One day, November 12, 2016, the defendants organized a rally in New York to show your support for President-elect Donald Trump, while at the same time organizing a Trump is not my president rally. This also was held, guess where? In New York, folks. Oh boy, they're playing both sides. Now here's the kicker before we go to break here, ladies and gentlemen. Rosenstein said there was no allegations in the indictment that any Americans were knowingly participating in this scheme. Nor is there any allegations that the scheme affected the outcome of the election. So, because Russians got involved and they just were messing with the U.S. election through social media primarily, using fake names or, what a lot of people would call stage names. Because there's a lot of people on social media who don't use their real name. That's an indictable offense. Yet, Hillary Clinton getting thousands and thousands of dollars from foreign contributors who used U.S. addresses, that's not indictable. Nor is deleting 33,000 emails indictable. Not the fact that Lynch Mob and Hillary's husband met on the tarmac of an airport trying to avoid a big public scene or something. I don't know why they met there. That's not indictable for anything. Do you see the hypocrisy in all this, ladies and gentlemen? And behind this is the FBI and the Department of Justice. We're going to get into them because they, if we go back to the shooter story, they knew about him. Again, another mass shooter that let's go beyond that, or terrorist. Another mass shooter or terrorist that they were aware of gets away with doing something. Gets away with doing something. Maybe they were too busy on the investigation with the Russians here, trying to indict anybody with the Trump campaign. But apparently, according to them, no Americans were knowingly participating in the scheme, and it never affected the election. Donald Trump was going to win regardless. No matter what, he was going to win the election. 3 defendants are charged with conspiracy to commit wire fraud and bank fraud, and 5 defendants are charged with aggravated identity theft. The millions of dollars spent on this investigation, and the best the government can come up with is identity theft and some bank fraud and some social media hacking or something. Whatever. Guess what? None of these defendants are in custody. We've got to take a quick timeout, ladies and gentlemen. Pay some bills. More on the flip side of this when we return.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. John Lebang Show's going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Powerful. Epic music by Toot Box Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
Forces of darkness, the treasonable minds who collaborate must, can, and will be wiped from the face of the earth.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Just to kind of dovetail onto some of that stuff I was speaking of earlier. Here we go again. The mainstream media has been hyping this Russian investigation for as long as Donald Trump has been president. We come to find out now that there's nothing. Nothing. The best they have is a couple little, a little bit of bank fraud, which had nothing to do, which could do nothing to affect the election. A little identity theft that had nothing to, that did nothing to affect the election again. And some social media posts. Seriously, the amount of money that has been spent on this Russian investigation, the negative media coverage of the Trump administration about this Russian investigation, shows a lot of things. It shows that the mainstream manufactured news doesn't know how to investigate anything. They're politically biased again. And, they wait to the very end of their stories, because I read you one of their stories just prior. They wait to the very end of the story to tell you nothing is connected to Trump. Trump's completely innocent, and no Americans at all were involved with this. They had no idea this was going on. It didn't affect the election. Then why is it news? And why have we spent so much investigating this? They don't talk about Fusion GPS, the connections there with the Clinton campaign. They don't tell you that the dossier that the investigation is built on is a farce, is a lie, is a political hack job by the Clinton campaign and Steele. They don't tell you it was paid for that. No, because they are invested in this story. They are invested because they are complicit, if not willing participants in propagating this lie, this fake news story that we've had to endure for over a year now. But that's nothing new with the mainstream media. They have a political agenda. You can go through CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News. There's no, centrist position. There's no looking at things from all angles. There's no telling you this or that when it's affecting their agenda. If it doesn't fit their narrative, they're not going to tell you about it, or they're going to stick it at the bottom of the story where they know you're not going to go that far. They make these big, long online stories, paragraph after paragraph after paragraph, and the very last paragraph tells you everything you need to know. All of that prior stuff was to get you to believe something, but you don't read to the end. And they know it, I know it, so that's why I'm here. John Lebang Show is here to correct the mainstream media when they're giving you a bunch of falsehood and fake news. That's right. It's manufactured news, ladies and gentlemen. They're doing that with the new Black Panther movie. They've got an entire segment of the population of America thinking that Black Panther is a racially motivated movie that benefits a certain community, when it has nothing to do with that. It's the final chapter before Infinity War. And it had nothing to do with the black community as a whole, as far as a message is concerned. But a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, this is a Black Power movie. It's not a Black Power movie. In fact, the bad guy in the movie might have had that position, but he lost because his position wasn't correct. It was wrong. And all the people that are loving this movie for the wrong reasons, you realize the reason this thing is selling the way it is, ladies and gentlemen, it's the final chapter in the Marvel saga before Infinity War. That's it. There might be a few more people going because the actor resembles something they like. The actors are of the same melanin count. Do you know how small and childish and stupid that is? Going to a movie just because of that? And then anybody who, I'm facing a little criticism because I gave the movie a B-. A B-. And when people who listen to my show hear that I give a movie a B-, when I'm one of the toughest critics out there, I give a B- and I was called a racist because I gave it a B-. Wow. Cool. All right, if that's what you think, your little mind is going to tell you that, well, I can't help you then. You're a lost person. Then another person comes on the comment, calling me salty because Black Panther's doing so well when they don't have a clue why Black Panther's doing so well. We all thought the Soul Stone was going to be in this movie. All the true Marvel fans, the people who have been following this at least since the beginning of the MCU, but more like me, who have been following Marvel since I was like 6 years old. So that would be 40 plus years, ladies and gentlemen, that I've loved superhero, and especially superheroes from the Marvel universe. Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. Those were my three favorite guys. And the people call me racist. If you're listening, I don't think you are, but whatever. If you're listening, why did I give Thor, one of my favorite characters, Thor Ragnarok, the worst rating I could have gave any Marvel movie? Tell me that. Was I racist against big green people? Maybe. Maybe I'm sexist against evil women? What is it? See, this argument that's going about not only in Black Panther, but in the nation, this so-called race talk that we're having, all the racial tensions, that totally is manufactured by the media again. The media wants us fighting and being a divided country, so they get ratings. So one city you get burned down, then you get a supremacist who sees this stuff and gets mad and then goes and does his stupid stuff. Does anybody know that there's only one race on the planet? It's called the human race. And melanin count, that's the thing that makes our skin darker or lighter. Melanin count, it's a chemical in your body. Just saying. That's what makes our skin tones different. There's nothing else besides that. We all have hearts. We all have stomachs. Most of us have brains. I can't say all of us have brains. I mean, there's something that might resemble a brain in there, but, it's not functioning very well. Why it's not functioning very well? Maybe maybe they're not smart. Maybe their parents weren't too smart, and, and it just follows along the genealogy there. But the idea that because I give it a B-, that I'm some sort of racist, when I gave it a higher ranking than Thor Ragnarok, I gave it a higher ranking than Guardians. The only movie out of the last four that I gave a better rating to was Spider-Man Homecoming, because that was a better movie. And people are seeing this through the lens of color versus just leaving it as a standalone movie and going to look at it and watch this movie as a standalone movie and not being directed by some kind of political positioning you have and just being objective towards a movie. That's all. It was a decent movie. They have millions of dollars to make these movies great, and they're always lacking in something. Maybe I had too high of expectations for Black Panther, and they couldn't live up to it. Because I was really excited for that movie. I rarely get out and do the movie thing because I think modern cinema is horrible. But they tapped into something. They tapped into a little bit of childhood by bringing these superhero movies out. A little bit of childhood there. And these are the best sets of superhero movies, in general, of all time. No doubt about it. And before I go, because we got to go to break, we're long again. Before I go, I want those people out there who are basing this, who are thinking this is a racially set movie, where was your support for Blade when that came out? Because the first Blade movie is awesome. And I've been wanting Blade to come back, and I want Wesley Snipes to be Blade in the Marvel Universe. Does that make me a racist? Oh, huh. In fact, I thought Wesley Snipes did a better job of Blade than Chadwick Boseman did of T'Challa. Nothing against Chadwick. I thought he did an okay job. He's a little dry. He's a little dry of an actor now that we had a whole movie to see him. I don't know if the script, I don't know why, but if I was the director, I would have tried to get a little more emotional feel out of them versus being so dry. But that's a minute criticism of them. Bring on Blade. We'll be right back.
Where do you think you're going?
The John LeBang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down.
Stay right here. Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John LeBang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John LeBang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John LeBang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
All right, welcome back, folks, into this final segment here in the first hour. This whole exercise, this 60 minutes, has been really an indictment on the mainstream media and how irresponsible they are. Here we have a shooter situation that they helped create by giving all the prior shooters so much exposure that certain people are going to go, wow, I can be famous. And in this world of narcissism, this day of self-gratification, when certain people do not feel that they're getting enough attention, they're going to go off. And if there's any mental issues going on there, which we have a lot, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of mental issues, well, then the mainstream media putting all this stuff out is going to put seeds into people who are not right in the head. And for that matter, people who are right in the head but are very easily manipulated. And that's part of the reason why we had this shooter. He seemed to be an outcast, troublemaker. We have a lot of that in this society, outcasts, troublemakers. And a lot of that has to do with the mainstream media. Then we have the Russian investigation that is turning out to prove nothing of importance. And the mainstream media is willing accomplice in providing you information that is faulty, fake, unimportant. They don't tell you the good details, the important details of this investigation. That we found out that Steele's dossier was a bunch of garbage. It was made up crap. And that the FBI used this garbage, this fake dossier, to investigate and to, even though we don't wiretap anymore, I'm going to use the words wiretap, like President Trump told you. Somebody was listening to him and you all made fun of him. Comes out that they were listening to him. Not directly. Through everybody else. He just happened to be inside those conversations. And what did they find? Nothing. Nothing again. Yet the mainstream manufactured news continues to pump this story. A story they know is began with lies. See, this investigation should be over, done. Once the dossier was found out to be paid for by the Clinton campaign and the DNC, and that the information contained in there was bogus, was false, was fake, the investigation should have been over. And this past year, we should have just had a regular news cycle. But no, they had nothing on Trump, and they didn't like Trump. The mainstream media, that is. The swamp doesn't like Trump, so they jumped along with it. It was just a big anti-Trump movement. And I'm not pro-Trump, because if you've listened to the show, especially the last few weeks, I've been all over the Republicans and Trump. Sure, I voted against Hillary. No doubt about it. It wasn't because of the Russian propaganda that was being disseminated on social media. It was because I investigated very well. And I gave you the information. And I shared it with you. And if you guys thought I was bogus, you wouldn't have been listening and my show wouldn't have grown. What gets me is that the mainstream media still has credibility, still has those large budgets and those advertisers, and they're still allowed to propagate fake news. Fake news. Speaking of fake news, I gave my opinion, like I said earlier, on some posts on the Black Panther, and some guy come on and said fake news. And I'm like, my opinion's fake news? Do you know how dumb people are? People have become so ignorant and stupid these days. They're so easily manipulated that they don't know they can't even discern between someone's opinion, real news, fake news, whatever. Especially if it challenges their belief in something. It's fake news. It's not real. Then you ask them to investigate it. They won't do that. They don't want to find out the real news. But you do, ladies and gentlemen. You listen right here on the John Lebang Show. I get some great emails sometimes. I don't read them on the show anymore because a lot of them I like keeping personally. You know, it's just great to hear from you people, and you can do that if you feel like it at jlebang@live.com. Send me an email. We love getting them. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com and check out all this. See, I leave articles on the website for you. You can go read them. We don't take them down like the Drudge Report or anybody else. You know, you go to the Associated Press, you have a link for something. 2 days later, it's gone. We leave things up there for a long time. Important things. Because we want our listeners and the people coming to the website to know this information. It's available to you. You don't have to search it out. You just go to the website there and click on that show prep link. And you can find out what we're talking about. All the things. Like I said, we don't switch it out. We don't keep putting new things up there because the day-to-day news is really irrelevant for the most part. The shooter situation, you're not going to see that on there. We're going to talk about it here, but you're not going to see all the in-depth coverage from all the mainstream news agencies because that's all out there and that's easily found. Some of the stuff you find on the website, not so easily found because it's buried in the news and you have to look for it and specifically look for it versus getting what the fake newsers over there at CNN. Oh, and I got to talk about that. CNN, because I got about 3 minutes left here. CNN. So I post, because they talked about the Black Panther, and they made a post on Facebook, and I that's where I started this thing where I said, hey, it's a B movie. It's a little overhyped. It's the excellence isn't quite there. Those guys delete my post. Because it wasn't praising. It didn't give it. This is what I'm thinking though. Didn't give the Black Panther movie a great praise. I didn't cut it down. A B- is not a bad grade. It's above average. Okay. But apparently because it wasn't A+, I got a block on CNN. That's okay because I went back and I made another post saying, hey, good job blocking me, you freedom of speech lovers. And then in my reply, I reposted what I said. I don't know if it's been taken down now. Not sure. But it was taken down in minutes. I'm talking maybe 2 minutes they had taken it down. They didn't want any negative press because they were trying to push a narrative, not a movie. Because the mainstream manufactured news isn't going to just sit here and promote one movie for no reason. They're not going to promote a superhero movie for no reason. There was an agenda behind it. It was an agenda to stir up racial division again. Gotta love it. Gotta love that the mainstream news does not care about providing accurate and unbiased information. They try to direct your hearts and minds in a certain direction, manipulate your feelings. That's why they filmed the shooter situation they did, and they're trying to get gun control. So what do? They get a lot of the people who, the victims, talking about it. And that's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. Why in the heck, and this is something that I've noticed recently with the law enforcement agencies as well, is why the heck are we finding out details the way we are in the news when there's an ongoing investigation? We can't find out details when there's an ongoing Russian investigation until indictments come out. But when there's a shooter, they drop information daily on you. This is what it is. 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 It's an ongoing investigation. Why the heck are the law enforcement agencies colluding with the mainstream media to provide propaganda during an ongoing investigation when it should be kept internally until all the details are found out and this kid goes to trial? So we can have some discovery and find out maybe why this kid did it. But they have already indicted this guy in the news. He's a dirtbag. We all know it. He's probably a mental health case. He's probably loony, okay? They're tying him to the NRA and white supremacist groups because there's an agenda right there. The racial baiters in this country is the mainstream manufactured news. We wouldn't have this racial divide in this country, let alone the sexual divide between male and female, and then we're going to add in all the trans whatevers and the gays and the lesbians and all that. They promote this stuff so we have the division. It doesn't matter. Yet they promote this stuff to have us fight amongst ourselves. So, just like the shooting situation, they have, and you love it. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. They have, what's the word I'm looking for? Shock value reporting, shock value television, because they know you're going to watch if they provide you shock value. And their ratings were up. Don't tell me the ratings weren't up during this mass shooting. That's how they get the ratings up, by providing you shock value media. Anyways, folks, that's it for the broadcast this hour. Stay tuned for the second hour. It's coming up right after this. We got to take a quick time out and we'll be right back. Unless you're on some certain stations that play us a different day, then check your local listings for times and days. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jlebang.com. Thank you for all of my affiliate stations that are carrying the John Lebang Show, and to you who give me an hour or more of your time each and every week. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, this is John Lebang signing off for the first hour of the John Lebang Show. Stay tuned for the second hour.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.